What you so scared for? Boulder snails are nice.
There can be nice ones?
Who knew a world of dystopian magic and otherworldly creatures could be brought to life for only $30 million? While the price tag might seem a bit hefty, it's surprisingly low considering how impressive and detailed the monsters in Love & Monsters are. So impressive that the VFX team has even been nominated for an Oscar. Which monster unintentionally became a total Instagram sensation?
Did I shoot it or did you?
What do you think?
How many creatures were conceived for Love & Monsters? Lucky number 13. Each of these monsters were made with very specific personalities and details, from the way they move to their textures and coloring. Extremely important considering they are the stars of the show and don't even speak. Seeing all these creatures definitely reminds us of animals we'd recognize in our world.
Oh, look! Sky jellies!
The team created based on real photos, videos, and studies of all these creatures, from cockroaches to frogs to centipedes. See the resemblances? What makes these creations special is how they look as if they've been mutated and become entirely unique.
Mutated and started eating us.
Looking closely, we can see that each monster has dirt, scars, and other blemishes roughing up their appearance. These details played a huge role in bringing them into our reality and establishing this post-apocalyptic world. Now, we need to talk about that crab. Not only does it bring one of the most tender moments to life, but it looks unbelievable. Check out the details on this creature. We've got 6-pack plastic rings here, as well as the crab trap that he managed to escape and dominate. So what did this crab look like without all the added effects that brought it to the screen? Well, a giant inflatable crab. Seriously. The base of that monster was a custom-made, powered, inflatable creation that stretched about 30 meters wide and 15 feet tall, costing around $700 US. It's no surprise the crab accidentally became an Instagram sensation when the public was able to see this huge creature flailing in the wind and honestly looking a little bit ridiculous.
That was amazing.
The crew had their fair share of laughs over the crab's presence as well, especially when it was time to deflate. Not an easy task. Let's just say it involved a lot of rolling around and stomping in attempts to expel all the air. Oh yeah, when the crab uses its claw, believe it or not, that's almost entirely practical effects. The team had rented a fairly inexpensive excavator. Yes, like a construction site excavator, and souped it right up. They took off the bucket that would normally be at the end of the arm and attached a claw instead. The whole thing was dressed in blue to incorporate CGI after the fact. This is probably the first time we've ever heard of a prop character having a sort of body double.
Okay.
Considering how massive and intricate some of the creatures were, it was really surprising to learn just how much was actually a result of practical effects and builds. Not just for us though, for the creators too. The effects specialists feel that all the practical effects were a big contributor to actually grounding the film. The super cool robot Mavis was what the creators expected to be the most challenging build. But apart from a couple of small details, the Mavis we see on screen was the practical puppet built. Mavis may not have been a real robot, but it was made out of many pieces. A bit over 100 parts made with a 3D printer actually. Getting all those parts together? Now that was a stressful challenge. Only 4 hours before they shot with Mavis, the crew was staring at all the pieces sitting apart, but as we can see, it all worked out. Mavis's faceplate and a bit of the left hand had some CGI work done. But the biggest change really was hiding the puppet master who was behind Mavis dressed in a full gray suit. How about that bug monster? Well, it was an impressive 80% practical piece with digital legs added to it afterwards. This kind of creature is actually what inspired the special effects artist Stephen Boyle to pursue a career in effects. The creation was definitely his favorite of all in this movie. He really appreciated the creativity he got to put into it. All those creepy crawly, way too big for comfort sand gobblers, acting as kind of underground tremors, were a mix of puppets ranging from 40 feet to a meter long and CGI. The queen gobbler that exploded was a full build for the team. This bulbous and slimy giant frog creation? Well, sections of it were built, but the whole of the monster itself was created digitally. Considering how much was practically created, the budget for those was still smaller than the special effects budget. They definitely matched up in terms of quality, though. The surprisingly friendly boulder snail? About a 15-foot tall and 15 to 20 foot wide in diameter CGI creation, with every detail covered down to the slime that coats it. Then we get into the stuff of nightmares. As if we weren't there already. Yes, we're talking about the sirens, the kind of oversized centipede-looking monster. For a relatively blind creature, those large antennae do an excellent job at helping it navigate around and totally terrify us. When the film was in post-production, it was realized that the scale of the siren had to be made even bigger than what they'd shot for, so VFX was able to scale the creature up, and honestly, it looks pretty flawless. We all know Dylan O'Brien is an amazing actor from his performances in the Maze Runner movies. But what exactly were his imaginary co-stars like? Well, sometimes he was acting terrified or battling with large blue poles with some orange on them, as we can see here, to mark the size and location of his acting partner. Though luckily, not all his co-stars were imaginary, nor were they human. Yes, we're talking about Hero and Dodge, aka the dog named Boy. O'Brien grew extremely close with his canine co-stars, who did totally steal the show. The animal coordinator actually said that she'd never seen such a strong bond between an actor and these dogs on a set before.
It is probably the strongest real-life off-camera bond that we've had with one of our animals.
Hero and Dodge are very friendly normally, but they put on their best performances in the scenes where they appear to be rougher and more aggressive. They were such pros that most of the shots the teams needed from the dogs were captured in only 1 or 2 takes. O'Brien shared in an interview that working with the dogs and animal coordinators was definitely one of the highlights for him, and he hoped to be able to go and visit them again someday.
This is a dog. He's brilliant.
He also noted that they were excellent cuddle buddies between takes. We'd probably do the same if we were in his position. Maybe all the snuggling time is the reason he never actually practiced drawing. We hate to disappoint, but all the beautiful pictures we see later in the movie, those were actually created by a member of the props team, since in actuality, O'Brien is not the best artist. Early on in the process, he actually did do his own drawing, which he hoped could be used as the first example that we see of his drawing that isn't supposed to look very good anyway, but even that effort didn't make the cut.
I freaking love it.
That's super sweet, because it's terrible.
In terms of the world we're immersed in through the film, the monsters definitely play a major part, but so too does the environment itself. While the film is meant to take place in California, it was shot in this very special location in Australia, chosen because it already looked so magical and mystical as it was, really emanating the feeling they wanted the world of the movie to have. The crew even commented on how magical the sun looked down under. That alone added to the gorgeous world we see. The team described the area as looking naturally futuristic, otherworldly, and as if all the creatures they created could actually be found there.
There is no place for mankind on land.
The beach area we see here was completely created in a cove that's normally covered in grass and park benches, but it's totally unrecognizable after the transformation. So how did they do it? 600 tons of sand. To restore the whole cove to how it looked before took about 3 full weeks. At least they were working in a beautiful place with that golden Australia sun though.
Beautiful, it's just not safe.
Right.
It's pretty incredible to see how creative the teams behind the magic are. Who knew so many of these complex creations were created practically and on such a low budget? Combined with Dylan O'Brien and, of course, the real star, Boy the dog, it makes for an amazing film. Were you as blown away by the Mavis puppet as we were?